Yeah, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I think we already pretty much started podcast. Right?
Well, now you have to show a picture.
Yeah. We'll put that as the podcast cover.
Yeah.
Love it. But thanks for being on.
Yeah.
Me and Becca. Well, Becca was actually working on me one day, and like half, as you know, like half of getting worked on by Becca is also just good conversation, which also makes it easier, to do physical therapy, in my opinion.
Right.
It's not, you don't feel like you're like truly in a clinic under the microscope, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah,
lots of yapping.
Lots of yapping. But yeah, we just, started talking about, random things, competition. Like I was probably talking about jiu-jitsu and stuff. I think she brought you up. Like, we were just talking about, I think it was maybe pre-Rogue or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so we were talking, and I was like, it'd be kind of cool to have you on because, I know that you've been through some stuff physically.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty get lighter.
Yeah, and and then the fact that you work with Becca, and I just thought it'd be really cool to kind of dive into that part of your life, and you also lived here as well sometimes.
Yeah.
And I just thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of get to know you and like sort of see what your background is. And I know most recently you did the Rogue Invitational, right? So can you kind of give me a background on what that entails? Because as we were talking before the podcast started, I wasn't super clear on like what the setup was, like strongman versus CrossFit. And so you were saying that it was like an invitation for CrossFitters to do the Rogue versus strongman comp, or
I'm pretty sure it's an invitation for both.
Okay.
The cool thing about this year was that this is the first year that the women, got to get showcased. So it was always just CrossFit and then the men's strongman.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah. And it's really cool because like we're like the athlete Warren Barrett, it's like we're all on the back. So CrossFitters and strongman. For the invitation process, they invited the top 15 men and women from the games. And then they only took the top 5 to 6 from a qualifier.
Okay.
So qualifier is just like online.
Yeah.
And that's like top 5 or 6 in the world. And then so I qualified through the Q, which is the qualifier.
Okay.
I was 6th, and then I'm pretty sure the strong people are just invited. I don't really double check on that, but I'm pretty sure they're just invited. I'm sure by like ranking, they have some sort of
there's something that goes into that.
But yeah, so I came in 6th, accepted my invite because you don't say no to Rogue.
Yeah.
And then you really don't, because like it's a lot of people don't understand, like it's a great opportunity. Like most of our competitions don't pay for you to go.
Yeah.
So they gave us a stipend to go. They pay for a hotel. And pretty much what we wanted to do was pay for like food and transportation.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So like it was like you easily come out with minimal $6,000, and then they'll give you the stipend too. So it's like a great opportunity.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So give me an idea of what was entailed, at the competition for that. I mean, I think a lot of us saw different highlights on Instagram, things like that, but I just wanted to get like an overview on what the competition was exactly. Like, if you can give us a expedited version.
So Rogue, I think they do an amazing job of, like, I guess showcasing their equipment. Would you say that?
Yeah.
So they do this crazy thing is like they just like fat bells, like that. The first time we saw them was at Rogue, and then all of a sudden everyone started buying fat bells.
Yeah.
We don't use that like you just want to buy it because you saw it.
Yeah, of course.
So then they make us, usually do something and then use a piece of equipment like the sear dumbbell. That was like one. I don't know if you can buy that though.
I never heard of that. I don't know.
It's basically like a circus dumbbell but smaller.
Oh, okay.
For us, yeah.
Okay.
And then
was it like a axle handle too? Was it like an extra fat grip too, or no?
Kinda. I wouldn't say it was like an axle bar, but it was like I definitely could. I think it's like I have big hands. I could only hold it like this.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So like they showcase really cool equipment. It's mostly, I want to say for Rogue specifically, they do a lot more power output stuff, so like smaller workouts that are fun to watch.
Yeah.
Because like no one wants to watch like a 40-minute.
Yeah. It's
endurance.
kinda,
Sorry to say, like no one wants to watch like you run for 40 minutes. They did do one event like that because they had to, because like CrossFit is like they have to test in all domains.
Yeah.
And then because you can't just do all strength, because then you just get a strength person.
Yeah.
So they had like shorter events, strength events. Like you said, one with a strongman implement, which was the power stair.
You crushed.
Yeah. I love that.
Everybody else was like tripping over it, but Dana's just like,
I love that
cruising with it.
I have never used that before, so that was the first time.
You said you guys were in the back though, picking like the strong women's like
we were like
brains on it, right?
So that was a surprise event. When they told us that was the implement, I literally ran to the strong people. I was like, help me.
So they were trying to give you
they were trying to give
you some advice and an idea of what to do with it.
Yeah. How to even like work it. And then I don't even remember the last. Yeah, like so sandbags. So mostly like I would say they mix it, and it's definitely like the weights are definitely heavier, because like everyone goes to Rogue and they were like, oh, you're gonna do well, and I was like, I don't know, because they like to do like usually heavier, and it's completely normal to get last at Rogue in any event, like for anybody.
Yeah.
Because it's like new equipment that it's like I think that's
brand
what's so
new
cool
stuff
about this like competition, is because especially with the surprise stuff, it's taking like literally the fittest people in the world and still throwing new things at them. So like getting to see everybody, like, you know, you'd have one person who like got first place the event before, but then they would go into the next one, and because they had never done any of those things before, dead last. So it's like such a wild card.
So you can generally prepare. You
can generally prepare, but like
it might happen, but when you're there, that's when you find out what you're actually using.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the strong men and women were saying, because like we would get back for an event and they look trash, we look trashed, and then they'd be like, "This is the most dynamic we've ever moved." Because like I have the little I know at strong like people competitions, like it's usually just like they're just staying in like one spot, you know, or like maybe they'll do something like the power stair, but like I was watching what they were doing, and everything they were doing was like incredibly dynamic. They're moving like down the field like we were. And so like
they'd lift something heavy and then have to go sprint to the next one and lift it.
And so like they were telling like we weren't used to that as much. And like we would tell them, we'd be like, we're amazed at you, and they're like, we're amazed at you, and I'm like, yeah, but we're just running with weight. So it was really fun to like just banter with them. And like I guess just for me anyways, not having been to the games, being that like complete rookie was like really satisfying, but also like I just had fun. Because like what am I gonna do? Like I knew I wasn't gonna get top 3, but I was like, I'm gonna be a problem. I'll just be a problem for everybody.
But you even kind of mentioned that was like your qualifiers, right? Like, first of all, you should talk about what exactly the qualifiers were.
Yeah.
But you even mentioned like you went into it with like, correct me if I'm wrong, like kind of like no expectations on it, like just go do it and have fun with it, and like.
Yeah, qualifying was another whole thing, because it was like the qualifiers came. I just like to do qualifiers to stay primed almost, or just like do them because it's like, when do you get the opportunity in a year to like see where you are in the world?
Yeah.
And so I like, when I went into the qualifiers, I was like, I'm just gonna do it. Not obviously, no, I'm not half-assed it, but I was like, I just need to do it just to see where I'm at. And then we submitted it, and I was 6th, and I was like, oh shit. But the thing with qualifiers though, you have to wait like another week, because I need to watch them in case you get penalized.
Yeah.
I didn't get any. I got like one minor penalty. But my place didn't move. So then I was just like, oh, okay.
So
like,
what would like the penalty they gave you, the minor penalty? What would the penalty be considered?
So one of the workouts it goes like 3, 2, 1, go. The time goes down, and then I like reached early and grabbed my rope, and that was it.
Oh. Gotcha.
So I got like a 5-second penalty, but like their penalty, like, you know, like for us, like there's things like hitting depth in a squat or something, like stuff like that. If you don't lock out or something. Yeah. There are people who like do stuff like that, and then they get like major penalties. So like 20 to 30% of their score gets knocked off, and then so that's when it gets crazy. Yeah. And then that's how basically you like qualify through and stuff. So
yeah. So when you were doing the qualifier, I mean, I'm sure part of you was thinking that you wanted to do really well to, qualify, but it sounds like you were also just doing it to sort of stay up to date and make sure you're not falling behind, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you were a little surprised when you came in at 6th, or did you think that you would?
Oh, I was very surprised. Like there were 2 workouts that I knew I had done really well on, and I did. I got like 3rd or something like that, or 2nd. I don't know.
One of those like the pseudo like powerlifting meet kind of thing. When there's the one where you did the sumo deadlift one, which obviously stands out to me. Didn't you do like a heavy?
Oh, you're talking about the Rogue challenges.
Okay.
Oh, no, we can talk about that too, though. But yeah, there was with Rogue challenges. There was no, I got 1st in that.
Well, yeah, because you deadlifted how much?
206 kilos.
450, something like
Yeah.
that. So it was kind of like a powerlifting meet where it was like 3 main lifts. It was a front squat, wasn't it?
Strict press and a sumo.
Strict press and a sumo deadlift. CrossFitters never sumo
They don't
deadlift.
sumo. They don't know how
I would
Ever.
imagine.
No.
Ever. They just freaking sumo deadlift in 450 pounds
I think-
without having trained it like at all.
That's
I think
sick.
2 days before I sent you a video and I was like, help me. I see you. I was like, trash this lift. What do I need to do?
Pretty sure I was just like, just be patient.
Yeah. And
It
like,
was stuck off the ground. Just
yeah,
be
and then
patient.
2 days later, I pulled 450 and it looked better.
You're like, I know a lady who's sumo that's
Yeah.
like 3 days a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sure do. Thanks, CJ.
I've done one powerlifting meet, but I'm not a regular sumo. And like when you switch positions, it feels weird.
Oh, yeah.
Like my groin was like, I was like, this is not normal. Yeah. So like all that stuff.
Not only that, but like sumo's technical.
Yes.
We all love to talk about
Yes.
how much sumo's cheating and stuff like that. But like, if you're not patient off the ground, that thing's gonna bully you all day long. It makes walk out so hard.
It's a whole different skill set for sure. I mean, right now I'm doing a lot of conventional. I have been for quite some time, but when I was doing melee sumo, whenever I would switch back to conventional, it just felt odd to be in such close quarters. But it was pretty easy to operate in there. It just feels weird being so crunched.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when you're doing conventional all the time and you switch over to sumo, I mean, you really have to learn how to move. I feel like it's not just so much like, oh, my feet are wider or whatever. Like
Right.
everything is so different. The mechanics are totally different. Like the approach, and that's a hard switch.
It's funny because like you talk about deadlifting, I didn't know how to properly deadlift up until like 2-3 years ago. Because like coming from an Olympic weightlifting background, when we say clean pull, we're like our butts are way lower,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
And so
squatting it.
I used to
Almost.
deadlift like that though.
Yeah, it almost looks like a high bar squat.
Yes.
Yes.
But the bar is in a different position.
Yep.
And I used to follow John North all the
Yeah.
time back in the day. I don't know why. I just had an obsession with that for a while. I was like, good or bad or the other. It's kind of a controversial figure. But yeah, and every once in a while he'd be like, check out my deadlift.
And it's just like
I was like, damn, why is guy's butt like
yeah, that's so weird.
And then I realized over time that I was like, oh, Olympic lifters, they have you said it was like called like a high pull deadlift. What was it?
Clean pull.
Clean pull deadlift.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, so that's more of a specific deadlift for Olympic lifting or whatever. But
Yes.
it was very funny watching that for a while. But yeah, so I could see, yeah, like you figuring out later, like, oh,
Yeah.
my butt's supposed to be like,
Like I didn't.
Oh, wait, I'm supposed to like hinge.
Yeah. Like I used to be like, I don't get it. This is so hard, and you're like squatting the bar. So
I feel any better for a long time because I didn't know how to use my hips.
yeah.
I just thought that if I just kept going lower, that I would be able to get my hips to go forward. And then my deadlifts just kept getting worse for like 2 years. And so after 2 years, I was like, oh, maybe that's not the direction.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go the other way.
Right. You live and you learn.
Oh, well, that's cool. I'm glad you had a good experience there and,
Yeah.
got to like essentially be on the floor with people that, you watch
Yeah.
do the games. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, that's a lot of people never have that experience, I mean, they're lucky if they go there to watch. So
I mean, you beat Tia Toomey in a couple of those events, so
I don't know which
Was it
one.
one?
I'm pretty sure
was it the power step one?
it was a power
Yeah.
stair. That was one of them.
Because that was one of your best placements, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, that was my best placement was 4th, I think. That was so fun.
Yeah.
But that I love that event, not because I'm a power output athlete is because I think it relied a lot of it purely on like athleticism. Mm-hmm. Like the hay bale thing was kind of dangerous, but like well, first of all, with the hay bale thing, they told us back there that the hay bale was going to be 48 inches.
The thing was tall.
And so like when we got out there, I was like, that thing was like up here. And I was like, that is like, I'm 5'4", 5'5".
Are you one of the short?
No, I'm not. I'm like the average height, I would say. Okay. And I was like, that thing is to my eyes. That is not 48 inches. And so we're like, you basically are doing like essentially a bar muscle up because you have to, and then you just shove your legs over somehow. The hay bale is wild. Was this probably like that wide? So it was really awkward. You had to somehow crawl through.
It's not like a box like step over where you can just like hurry up and like in one fell swoop get over it. No. Like you have to crawl a little bit.
Yes.
So like, a little bit.
When I was rewatching the video, I was like, that's not sexy at all. It was like it looked really bad. Like and so like I was like, whatever, I got through it. Luckily I didn't get hurt because I was like an Achilles issue, you know. There's a couple people that got their Achilles torn or something.
They tore it at that conference.
Yeah, because they
the hay bale thing?
Yeah, because
it's so much higher than
it's so much higher, and we were trying to go so fast. Our ankles would hit, we would rebound, and that's where So like I already have a bad ankle, so I think I was already like hyper aware.
Yeah.
And like the thing with that event, and I don't know if you watched that event, but they didn't tell, like we didn't know, y'all didn't know where we stood.
Mm-hmm.
So it was elementary.
I had to like rewind like 10 times.
You're like, did she make it? I don't know.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing and that was also the last event in the night. So a lot of us were just like, I'm not trying to be funny, but like Haley Adams was like, I just want to go home. And we were laughing into it was like so funny. Like we were not serious at all. I think there was one video in the back. I was just like yawning because it was like, I don't even know what time it was, but it was like, it was late.
It's a long day.
It was the third event after a long day.
I think you always lie to yourself at the events, you know, and you're like, oh, you get out of here by 2, you know, and I think you just say that. You're able to do what you got to do, and not really think about how long you're going to be there, you know.
But you make a good point with the ankle thing too, because like that just shows like your mindset with stuff, of like the fact that you placed as well as you did in that event, and already going into it, you're like, I got to be concerned about this like major injury that I've had in the past. Yeah. You should talk about that a little bit.
I'm more always aware of my injury. Like a lot of people don't realize like how much this injury has changed my life, but I'm like. To like pistols, I can't do pistols properly, and a lot of people don't know that.
Oh no, I remember the first time I did an assessment with you in person. Yeah. I think you even showed me your body weight squat.
Yeah,
because you were just wearing your slides, you didn't have your lifters. You showed me your body weight squat, and like couldn't even keep your lifters.
No.
So can you talk a little bit more about what exactly you went through with that injury?
I just quickly sum it up. I fell off a pegboard. I fell off the pegboard in like 2017, like straight off the top.
Was that during a comp or was that just?
No, that was just me fucking around being stupid. And there were mats underneath me. I just completely missed them. Gosh. Like if this is the pegboard and this is me, I fell off like this way.
Oh damn!
The mats
fell back.
Yeah, I like fell like diagonally. Oh. And then, so this is my ankle. I fell on the ground, like it fell and it hit the ground like that, and so it just like dislocated and shattered my ankle.
Shit. That's incredible that you're able to do what you're doing after shattering an ankle.
So if you watch me really closely on anything squatting, or if you just watch my left ankle is always slightly up. And a lot of people don't realize that. Like double unders are actually really tough for me. So I'm putting like, I would probably say 60% on this leg.
Is it because you feel like your calf like endurance?
No, I don't know what it is. Like it just, if I want to say like what percentage it healed since 2017, it's probably still only at like 80.
Did you formally rehab it? Because this was well before we knew each other.
I had shitty college insurance.
Okay.
So I had to rehab myself. Being an exercise science major, I was like, fuck it, I'll just do it myself. Not the best idea.
But honestly, I would argue no, okay. Being somebody who's worked in the traditional mill, and like last time I was on this podcast, we talked about it. Like that shit, like my very first job out of school, I kid you not. And this is kind of why, again, getting into why I love doing PT out of here versus like a traditional mill, very medical setting. Because people walk into those things and they automatically, like, whether they realize it or not, they're just like, I'm fragile. I'm in a medical like system. Like, oh no. And like a traumatic injury like that, a PT that doesn't know better, doesn't understand CrossFit, doesn't understand like just the time you guys dedicate to your craft, like they would have been like, you're done for. Like, there's no way. You're never going to be able to do this. Like,
that's another reason. So the doctor I went to, he was like, you're never going to be able to run again. And I like broke down crying. And then I was like, fuck you. No, I am going to. And then, so it took me like almost 2 years to run again. But I could do like mostly everything else. Running and double unders was one of the last few things that I could do.
But also to your point too, that if they do put you through the rehab process, they're sort of thinking that they're going to rehab you to go back to your office job.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just so you can walk to your car in the morning.
Not only that, but
I mean, that's important shit, but like
it is for sure. But like also like
there's that huge need though. But you feel that huge need between like I want to get back to daily living to back to sport too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I think this is just such a cool example of like I preach about it on my social media all the time, but like we don't have to like shoot for perfect movement all the time.
No.
Like people are and you're such a good example. Like even though you still even can't like keep that heel on the ground, you're still functioning and you're still excelling at the highest level. And it's because you've done thousands of repetitions to get you to this point, right? Like at the end of the day, if you stick with it enough, like you're going to be able to do just fine, right? Like it's just unbelievable how adaptable humans are. And it's just such a cool like showing of like how even though it might not be perfect movement, like you're still going to be fine. Like, do we still have to be mindful of these things as you kind of approach these higher levels and as you like challenge yourself? Like, sure. Because the biggest indicator of like future injury is previous injury. Like that is the unfortunate truth of it.
Sorry, say that again.
The biggest predictor of future injury is previous injury.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So that's why that rehab process is so important.
I
But
gotcha.
again, it's one of those things where it's like, that's why we don't always seek perfect movement.
Right. That's true.
We adapt to whatever situation you're in and we work around it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry to cut you off. I actually wrote down something from your social media that I had liked from, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. You had a post that says fragile mindset, fragile recovery. And, you know, it goes hand in hand with what you're talking about now, you know, and I really, really firmly believe in that. And so it's funny because when you're talking about your injury and how you were like, oh, yeah, I was in college. So, like, I just had to, like, deal with it, figure it out on my own, you know. And so you know, may have not been going to, like, a professional, you know, and you're figuring it out. But the thing is that in your heart, you want to figure it out, but you have to get back to your craft.
Right.
So you're willing to do anything, whatever it takes, trial and error. And also just the fact that you're willing just to start moving again. Like you were talking about, like, oh, I couldn't run, but I could do everything else. Yeah. So immediately I just started thinking in my head about like, okay, you might be in the gym doing upper body, but you're still walking around, you know, like.
And that's just kind of like a basic rehab principle, right? Like if you can't do one thing well right now, key is right now, capitalize on the things you can do, double down on the things you can do, because eventually you're going to bridge the gap to meet them.
Yeah.
Right? But don't force those things you can't do right now. Otherwise, you're going to be spinning your wheels and constantly just pain, re-injure, you know?
Yeah.
But like the biggest thing, and I see it all the time, especially with folks with like chronic pain, where it's like they'll have pain with these movements. They start to just tell themselves, I'm just not meant to do that thing. And then all of a sudden, because they have this kind of chronic thing that's going back there, their like list of movement options gets reduced more and more and more to a point where they're just like sitting there like, well, what can I do now?
Right.
And those are the folks that stop training. They give up on it. They count themselves out. So
yeah, and I can speak from experience. I mean, you know, like anything I've been through injury wise, and you know, my list is pretty extensive, you know, like
it's been a lot of list, but
I've always believed that I could get better and I can fix it and I can overcome it. There's never been a point, no matter what's happened to me, that I've been like, I don't think I can fix this, you know? So it's really nice working with someone that also has that same borderline crazy belief, but it's like, it's necessary, you know, and it's very nice to have the knowledge and education so that you can really tell us like the correct information. Like, this is true, that's not true, or this would be better instead of that or whatever. But it's just nice that you really believe it in the same manner. You know, like I've never had you work on me before, no matter what kind of shape I was in, and how you try to deter me. You know, you'll try to keep me safe and suggest better movements or whatever, but I've never had you tell me that I couldn't do something or that like you know, I'm done doing that shit. And like, yeah. And it's a huge positive to have, you know, as someone that takes training seriously, you know.
Just one of those things where like, sorry, go ahead.
No. I don't know if he's like me though, but I'm like, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna do this complete opposite. I feel like that's what you're like thinking. You're like, you're gonna do it anyways. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, you might as well just help me.
That's what probably put me there.
Yeah. You might as well just help me get back to it.
This whole table would do that anyway. But for sure. Like,
it's just one of those things. Like I've seen so many people who come to me because like, especially being a cash-based PT, I'm usually not the first person that they come to see, right? Like they want to use their insurance because especially in a lot of cases, people haven't done PT before.
I've witnessed it. I've heard people say like, oh, you know what? I got to go over here because my insurance cover isn't like, you'll holler at Becca in like a month or two or so, you know.
For sure.
Not
but it's
talking
like,
trash. But.
Right. But it's one of those things where it's like, so I see people after they've seen and heard multiple opinions. And it's like the hardest ones for me to help people work through are those mindset ones where they've just continuously been told, you can't, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, my goals for your rehab are your goals for your rehab.
Yeah.
Is it going to be like a little bit more of a like, you know?
Well, it's cool. You're like in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
Like you don't try to take over the wheel and, you know, and you're not living the person's life either. You know, and so it's just nice, but you're not so docile about it that you're not just letting us do like dumb shit where we're just going to be right back in the hole like in a month, you know, but it's cool. Yeah. And I was actually curious how you guys met because, you know, as far as I knew, you know, like you started running the clinic out of here when I started seeing Dana, you know, and I think Dana had been working out here a little bit off and on, you know, too. And so like, how did that come about? How did you guys meet? And you know, obviously you guys are also like pretty good friends. I can tell, you know, aside from just like you working on Dana and like seeing her at the gym. So like, how did all that start? Yeah.
So we officially met back when I had just opened up a clinic for the last company I worked for, just in like the Lakeview area. And I think 3 months into opening that clinic, we were running like a giveaway special or something like that, where it was like 3 free like recovery sessions, whatever, just we'll share our posts, whatever. Dana ended up winning. But actually the first time I don't think we actually officially met or introduced each other, but the first time we met was at another gym downtown. I don't know if you remember this. I don't think we even actually talked to each other. That's the first time I remember seeing you and being like, holy shit, she's strong. So I went in to work out. I brought Val, my puppy at the time. You probably remember the puppy more than you remember.
Oh, was I getting?
You were doing a consult for like your deadlifting or something with one of the trainers.
I was like, help.
Which was just so funny because I could tell it was something that you don't do regularly at the time, but also at the same time because I happen to be deadlifting at the same time. And I'm just constantly like... And then Dana just goes in casually. I think you just like, I literally overheard you guys and you like threw 405 on the bar. And you're like, yeah, I don't know what I can lift. I don't know what my max is. I haven't really maxed it out in like 2 years.
There? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And then she just goes casually, like after hearing her, like having not like done a heavy, like 1 rep max, just goes and throws 405 on the bar. And it's just like, chill.
Yeah, I was like, just help me with technique. And he just kept putting more weight on the bar. And I was like, okay. But that's the thing about CrossFit though. Like we say that we don't when we don't max out often. So like really often, like could be up to like a year, half a year. And he was like, let's just see what you can do. And he kept putting forward. We got to like 405, 415, 430. We just kept going and going and going. And so I like, broke down. And no, I do remember this because, Val was just, I think Val wanted water or something. Yeah, yep. And you're like, can you hand me that? And I was like, yes.
For Val? For Val, of course I will. But no, so we started getting work because she won the like raffle or whatever. And then kind of from that point on, it was just like me and the owner of the company at the time were like, this girl's the real deal. Like, she's like the most talented CrossFitter we've seen in the Chicago area. Like, we've got to help her like continue to push and get to that top level.
Who was telling you that?
The owner of the company.
Oh, the owner of the gym.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
And so we ended up coming up with like a sponsorship thing where basically you just got like a free recovery session, you know, once a week or whatever it was. But
that's right.
And then once I kind of broke the news to her that we were, going to be doing my own thing, just kind of continued the same thing.
Yeah, I was thinking about the whole dog thing in the gym, and it's funny how like it doesn't matter what kind of gym it is, like CrossFit or powerlifting or like, well, I mean, I guess the gym has to allow dogs to be in the gym.
Right.
But dogs live like kings in gyms like this. And that's the one thing I realized, like, not from the beginning, because in the beginning there wasn't a lot of dogs at Rockwell, probably in the last like 4 or 5 years, you know. And I think what happened also is that certain people saw other dogs coming in, and then they either got dogs or they brought their already existing dog because they knew it was cool.
Yes.
But it's just so funny. And you've even seen like new dogs show up or a random dog, like the whole gym shuts down.
Oh my
Like-
God. Your own wife
Yes.
squealing from across the side of the gym to sprint as soon as she sees a dog come in the front door.
Yeah, Katie will be in a session with a client. She's like, oh my God.
It's impressive how good she is about multitasking, petting
Yeah.
dog and also
Yeah.
still like
We've
having a
had
productive
sessions.
session.
I'm-
She's had some practice with it, I could tell.
Yeah, but no, I just it caught me for a second, and I was like, oh, that's awesome that like CrossFit's the same way, and you guys kind of like a lot of CrossFits have like open garage doors, you know, the summertime vibe, and so like,
Yeah.
and I've seen a lot of videos online. You'll see like dogs
Yeah.
coming out of the garage door, and like it's just cool. It just makes training a lot easier because you have like something to focus on that's not the atrocious thing that you're doing in front of you, and it kind
Right.
of gives you that softer side of the
Right.
gym. And I don't know. I feel like, I mean, we're all really nice to each other in, you know, this gym and other gyms too, but it just kind of like, it makes it not so unbearable.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having a good time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not lifting something that's going to kill me. There's a dog over there.
Definitely not. If I drop this, at least there's a dog
I know.
over there.
Yeah. That dog needs someone to cuddle.
Definitely. I don't need the comfort after missing my rep. That dog.
Yeah, sure. So can you give me your background in like CrossFit? Like, how did you get started in CrossFit? Were you training prior to CrossFit? Did you have any sports going on like in college or high school that kind of led up to that? I just wanted to like see how you got into that, because everyone has kind of a different story how they got involved.
Yeah.
Really.
So I mean, as young as I can remember, like I've always been an athlete. Like I even knew that I was going to be an athlete in something. Like I just had that feeling my whole life.
Even when you were a kid, or
Yeah. So like, well, no, ish. My parents being Asian, they wanted me to go to medical school. So like, and of course, you tell me to do something, I'm gonna do the opposite. So like, I was in sports, and they like loved that I was in sports. So like, being multi-talented, they want you to do that. But then once you start to gravitate away from what they want, they're like,
Yeah.
no. And so like, I was going to go to medical school, but then so I've always been in sports, but like I think I really turned it on with basketball. Basketball was like my first like true, like I'm gonna pour myself into this. I had other sports, but I was like, nah. And that so when I got burned out in high school, like I was gonna try to walk onto a D1 school, and like basically kind of try out. And I was just getting burned out, and I was like, I don't love this anymore. Like I really don't. Like it was to the point where like, you know, you either like you like competing or you like playing or you like training. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you just hate all of it, that's the time you need to like just stop.
Not to mention, like, if it's only high school.
Yeah.
You got a long career ahead of
Yeah.
you. And if you're already burned out of a sport like that,
Exactly.
like that's going to be a rough journey with that sport.
But like a lot with, you know, with any sport, there's always like these development camps. And like I had been to AAU. I'd done like, I've traveled. I was like, I was trying to get to like, I was trying to go to Duke University and like UNC. And like, those are some of the best schools in North Carolina for basketball. And like, it honestly just, it came to my decision. I was like, I don't love any of it. I don't love playing. I don't love playing pickup. I don't love playing. And I was like, I'm just done. So then I kind of gravitated. I was like, I'm not going to gain a bunch of, I don't want to be like, what is it? Freshman 40? What do they call it? Whatever, all the way. I was like, I don't want to gain, I was like, I don't want to just gain too much weight, unhealthy weight. And so like, I was like, you know, I'm just going to go do gym. Whatever that is. And then it's like, and you know, it's just like lifting weights. You don't know what you're doing. You're just doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then that gravitated towards like more like bodybuilding. I wouldn't say it was like true bodybuilding, but it was like split work. Yeah.
Stay in
Like
shape,
push
like, yeah,
pull.
yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Is it like finding templates on bodybuilding.com?
right. Yeah. You're just like Googling. I'm like, what's a good arm day?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like arm day.
Shout out to bodybuilding.
I know.
Yes.
And I think we all started like that. And then it started, I found CrossFit. and I was like, that's fucking stupid. like I don't know. This was 2014, 2015. Like just when that's pretty early starting sport, isn't it? Well, it was getting towards the middle, like the era of like Rich Froning, like that type of era. And I was like, that's dumb. Why would you mix weights with running and gymnastics? And like, that's not a pull up. And I was like the biggest hater before I like.
One of my favorite things in the world is being obsessed with something and then also being able to make fun of it.
Yeah.
Holistically, just trash the shit out of it.
Right.
It means that you're really comfortable with that thing.
Exactly.
Like a lot, you know?
And I think so. Like I think I'm fit from basketball. Like I'm like I run all the time. Like we think, yeah, I run all the time. Like down in the courts. Like I could run for 90 minutes. Like then I did this rant. They had like a workout of the day, and I just like looked at it, and I was like, okay, box jumps, like kettlebell swings, and like power clean. It was like something stupid, like a hero wad. And I tried it. I think I got to like it was 5 rounds. I got to round like 4 or 3, and I DNF'd. I was like, I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die. And I was like, okay, like maybe this is like different. Like this is something different.
Yeah.
And then I see the gym down the street. People are running with like sandbags or something. And I'm like, that's stupid. Okay, whatever. I'll just go. And like, I did like their like intro thing, did it, whatever. But this is where it gets tricky because like I started doing it. I'm like, I like this. This is weird. I'm like doing everything at one time, always getting a full body workout. And then there's USAW. So USAW is Olympic weightlifting. Mm-hmm. There's a coach in there. She's like in the corner. And I just naturally, we call it cherry picking in CrossFit where you just only do the things you like. Mm. I just for some reason start liking barbell only things, like everything barbell. And I'm like, I don't like running. I don't like gymnastics. And like, I just start only weightlifts. So power clean, snatch, front squat, jerk, back squat, whatever, deadlift. Coach sees me. I'm throwing up numbers. Apparently, in that era of the time, I'm throwing up numbers that like my first snatch was like with 45s on there. Like I just threw, and she was like,
especially like females, like
not,
that's not like weight that takes like at
yeah.
least like what would you say, like at least 2 to 3 years for the average person.
Yeah, like the first time I just maxed out, I just threw like I was building up, and I got to like 120, which is the 45s on the side.
Yeah.
And like she was like. And the first time I maxed out, which is like in 2 months, I hit 145. That's like my body weight at the time. And she was like, a body weight snatch is not normal for your first like month in cross like that. She's like, that's not normal. I clean and jerk like almost 200 pounds. I'm like 18, 17 or whatever. Yeah. Like, and then she was like, do you want to come over and weightlift?
Because that's with like the no training age for Olympic
There's like, I didn't.
Because did you guys even do that for basketball?
No.
Yeah.
Not good anyway. It's okay. It's like reverse curls.
Right.
Yeah. And then, CrossFit Open comes around. I clean and jerk like 205. And that's like, in that time period, that was crazy. Yeah. Like for a woman to hit 205. And she was like, let's do some weightlifting. I weightlift for like, I don't know, half a month. I break the like junior state records or whatever in North Carolina. I qualify for nationals. My third meet, I win junior nationals in the United States.
Damn.
And she was like, and so my trajectory was so quick though. Like within 1 year, I become national champion. Like, and so like snatch, clean and jerk, I start realize like, okay, like this is I completely gravitated from full. So I like leave CrossFit. I become an Olympic weightlifter for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I get injured, and that's where that happens. So I break my ankle in 2017. I literally from one day I go from being in Team USA to like an invalid. Like it was a really bad injury. Like it wasn't one I could just come back to.
Yeah.
Because like you need a lot of ankle mobility.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And I completely lost it. Like even to this day, I can't push my knee over my toe.
Probably more so than any other strength sport.
Yeah.
I mean, right.
Like you see,
I would argue that's like one of, aside from like shoulders, like that's one of the most important ankles to have, or joints to have mobility.
Yeah. Like you see people when they snatch and they're like their butt's almost hitting the floor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't do that. So like I'm pretty limited in that aspect, but like
can we also pause to just respect like the mindset shit that's going on there too? Because like not only like physically, but like literally you were like cruising, and then all of a sudden it's like, bam.
Yeah.
Like that's like your identity, like
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
That's so tough.
Yeah. So like I'm a resident weightlifter at this college for Team USA. And then that's stripped in like a day. And then the reason I get into CrossFit is not to be competitive. At this time period, I'm like, I gained a ton of weight. I was only weighing like 135 at the time.
So it was almost like your sort of comeback from, I see what you're saying. So
I literally just wanted to move.
planned.
Yeah. So there's a CrossFit gym by my call, like literally within walking distance of my dorm. And so I just started going there to move again. And then within 2 years, I'm at my first like super high level CrossFit sanctional.
Yeah.
And that was actually, it's funny, the first competition I do, that's the closest I've been to the games. I think I was like,
The first CrossFit competition?
yeah. So like I was, yeah, my trajectory is wild. Every time I go back into something, like, it just goes like, I was like 3 places away from going to the games.
Wow.
Yeah, it's, I'm not getting worse, but it's just getting harder to go back to the game. Yeah. And so that's basically what happens. So like I do CrossFit purely to mentally and to like just get healthy again and like lose weight. I don't do it. It didn't happen that way, and then it just so happened that like I fell in love with it, and then I just kept going.
Yeah.
So that's. I've actually I counted it this morning though. I've actually only done 6. I should be doing more. Like I talked to my coach about this, but like I've actually only done 6. Maybe 7 competitions ever. Rogue being my 7th. In a matter, because I need to do more, but like, and I'm like top 50 in the world, I think, right now.
Right.
So.
Well, you've also had some shit happen along the way, but yeah, I know what you mean.
It's the thing with CrossFit though, I feel like compared to the other sports that I've done, is like I mean, you're prone to burnout in any sport, but like I feel it more so in CrossFit because I don't know if you know like the domains, but there's so much to work on.
Yeah.
That it's like you could easily just chip away at yourself, and just like physically every joint is just like, we do so much.
Yeah.
That it's
There's
like
just so many things that you have to be good at. So kind of going along that, how do you guys decide? Because obviously you've got your strengths and you've got your weaknesses when it comes to CrossFit. How do you decide to win? Like, I need to like really bring up my weaknesses versus like, no, I think I just got to use my strengths and that's what's going to set me apart from the others. You know, there's so much strategy involved with it. And there's probably not a good answer to it too.
Shout out to my coaches, but so like what Kristen, one of my coaches says, she's like, we're not trying to change you because you're such a good power athlete. Like genetically, if you also look at me, like I'm a power, like you can tell just like muscle type.
Yeah.
She's like, we can't change that. Genetically, you're gonna get capped at some sort with your, you know. But the point is to try and just balance it out. Right. Like for me, well, I tell people that are trying to come in the sport now, it's better to come in with so we have monostructural, which is like the running, all the cardio stuff, and then we have gymnastics and weightlifting. You better come in with one of the two, gymnastics or weightlifting. Who cares? I don't like
that. Like you're already good at.
Yes. Okay. Monostructurally, I'm sorry, but all of us can run, swim, bike. We can all do that. Like those are stuff. Obviously, swimming's a skill. Those are all skills, but like that is much easier to do than gymnastics or weightlifting. If you come in with a gymnastics background, that's awesome. If you come in with a weightlifting background, that's awesome because like strength. Obviously, gymnastic skills are really hard to bring up too. But like I feel like me, and I feel like anyone else who comes in with a weightlifting background, I don't have to pull my brain cells as much into weightlifting than I can spend it on the other two stuff.
Like if you have some sort of like, it's not a natural God-given thing, you know, because you obviously had to work for it. But if you have something that you can, to a degree, go autopilot on, know that you're going to deliver, then you can put all your energy and focus into the other things that, you know, are a little bit easier to send in. But you still obviously have to like concentrate on doing a good job at it. But you can't, you're saying that you can't have like weightlifting or gymnastics be iffy.
Right.
And then
Well, it's just I think they're harder. Like monostructure, like, you know, from exercise science standpoint, like it is way easier to bring up your cardio.
You just
It's
have
quick.
to do it.
It's quicker.
Yeah.
Like you can do that in 3 to 6 months. Strength? How long does strength take though? Like strength takes years and years and years and years. You're not just talking about like, you're talking about like neural pathways and like all that stuff. Yeah. So like I think like gymnastics, I'm glad I came in with a weightlifting background. Between the two, I'm glad I came in with weightlifting and gymnastics. Cause like, you know, you can pick up, not to say that you can pick it up faster, but it's like, you're not having to deal with like, I need to get my back squat up from 200 to 350 or, you know, that's way harder. Especially because you're also now fighting with monostructural.
Yeah.
For me, running, it kills my legs. Like I have to carefully somehow input running into my week so it doesn't kill my deadlift and it doesn't kill my squat.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, I feel like CrossFit's still trying to figure out the actual science because there's too much.
Right.
Well, I know like even in like powerlifting, you know, just keeping your body semi-happy and keeping your joints in a decent place is really challenging. And we really only have 3 main movements. And then we have obviously all the accessories like, secondary stuff and then bodybuilding stuff or whatever. But that's a challenge, keeping your body happy just with that small group, you know. But in CrossFit, you have all these specialties and it's endless. And it seems
and
like
they're still coming up with new stuff all the time.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Instead of adding to the pile, it just seems like a much bigger feat to keep your body happy long term. But I think it's smart to figure out what the amount is that you know you have to run and you know you have to swim or whatever, but you're also not just like, all right, well, I'm going to go out and just bang out all this mileage. I'm going to feel like shit, but I'm going to do it anyways. Because it's like, then your specialties drop off. And so it's kind of a weird balance. You know, and like, we do a lot of martial arts here, you know, as I'm sure you're aware, because you can see it from like the PT area. And like a lot of new people will come in and want to do jiu-jitsu because right now jiu-jitsu is more trendy than Thai boxing is. But I always try to explain to people that it wouldn't be a bad idea to try Thai boxing first, even though they're martial arts, because no one out there cannot hit a pad or kick something. Everyone knows how to hit things and kick things, right? And but a lot of people try to gravitate towards jiu-jitsu because right now it's just really big on social media, and in the States it's a little bit bigger than Thai boxing. Well, I should say a little bit. It's majorly bigger. But the problem with jiu-jitsu is, and just like weightlifting or gymnastics, is that you have to literally learn the language of it. Like very few people can just walk in and just be good at jiu-jitsu. They're out there, but it's super, super rare. And the problem is that all the movements are nothing like anything you do in real life. You know, like not even remotely close. And weightlifting, I mean, people know how to squat. I mean, you'll squat down, you know, when you're a baby and all that. But like when it comes to weightlifting, most people are not doing anything in real life where it's a snatch, you know, or a clean and jerk or a front squat, you know, and so it's a lot of time and a lot of focus goes into that, and you're always not going to run into a lot of success early on with it. And in fact, it's polar opposite. So if you're not practicing those skills, it's tough. You mentioned earlier that you mentioned North Carolina a couple times. Did you grow up in North Carolina, or where'd you grow up?
I feel like I'm a mutt now. Like I don't even know. Like I claim Chicago now that I really love it here, but like I've grown up, like technically it was New Jersey, North Carolina, and then I moved to Michigan is where I was doing my weightlifting residency, and then I moved to Kent. Like I don't know. I've been in Chicago since 2021, but yeah, North Carolina, I was there for like most of my my schooling.
Like when you were younger?
Yeah.
What was it like growing up in North Carolina? Like I have some friends that live there, but
it was okay. It was boring. Like being in that like rural area. Like that's why I love Chicago, because I'm like, there's always something to do here. Like literally every weekend. It's cold, but like at least there's a ton of stuff to do. And then the summers are great, but like North Carolina literally is nothing.
Yeah, from being a weightlifter too, it's really nice being in Chicago because there's so many things to eat. You know, you can try whatever. It's always open most likely. You got Chinatown, you know, like Yeah, so that's nice. Yeah, I've never been to North Carolina or really that area at all, but I was just, wondered if that like, had any effect on you as far as like the area you grew up, work ethic wise, like, like.
Oh, you just didn't have anything other to do then.
Exactly. I didn't have anything to do, so I got good because it was boring.
Yes.
Yeah. So like I mean, you could say that for most of the, like a lot of the girls that I knew that were really good in weightlifting when I was starting to get into were like from like Iowa. And and I was like, so what's up, cornfields? Like they'd be like, and they're good because that's all they did.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that's why a big part of why Iowa wrestling is such a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they got to put their time into something, and it's going to give you a huge advantage. And Beck, I was going to talk to you a little bit about Iron Mind because you've been here working at Rockwell for about 6 months, give or take, and I just wanted to see like what I guess your opinion is on doing your job and sort of running the clinic out of a powerlifting gym versus like a sort of more traditional clinic, and just like changes that you've noticed in sort of your own work, and just like working with all the people in here, because it's a much different. You were working on a lot of us at your previous place, but your environment is totally different now. You know, like even just the music and just the people and like even where you're working and all this stuff. And I just wanted to see like what it's been like for you, and like.
So you probably see my face light up just because this is so much fun. But I alluded to it when I talked about like traditional mill. Like you walk in, like you immediately see the massage tables. You immediately see like, you could tell there's no barbells, there's no rig. Like I remember my first job, like I already said on like the first podcast, like we had a cable stack, like a functional trainer. But like other than that, like the dumbbells we had were a pair of 2s, 3s, 5s, pretty pinks and whatnot, that. Like the heaviest weight that we ended up having the gym in there by the time I left was like a 35-pound kettlebell that I brought from my home.
Yeah.
So like, that's one of those things, like whether people realize it or not, especially, and granted, I was working more with Gen Pop then, and so whatever, they're already like, most of them had gone to their doctor. They'd had imaging done, which found like whatever, tissue damage, which we're ready to blame for their stuff.
Yeah,
so like,
sure.
they're already thinking they're fragile, whatever. Then they walk into this clinic where it's like so medical, and they're like, oh my God, let me take the 2-pound weight and do my rotator cuff exercises. And like, that's what's going to get me back to what I want to do.
That's true.
So like being in this, and this has always been kind of my like end game goal of like being in a gym where people work hard.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, and you kind of saw it with a client that you met for the first time of mine earlier this week, like we didn't go into the rehab area at all.
That's true.
It's depending on the person, like if they don't need that kind of stuff, I immediately want, like my end game is not necessarily like strengthening even just to like fix their issues. It's more like, I want you to see what it is you're capable of, that you are not as fragile as you think you are. Yeah. And that like ultimately end game of this, especially for more Gen Pop folks, is like, we got to get you more active, because that's something that like, first of all, just longevity wise, you're going to be that much better, but like also mentally wise, like, and the fact that like, that stuff that like once they learn these basic principles of like, oh, my body recovers well when I do these exercises in the gym, and like I 2 or 3 days a week or whatever it is, like they learn just autonomy in themselves of like how to rehab themselves, and like just see that like, rehab doesn't have to be rehab. It can just be like exercising and training and moving better, but in the gym, and it's a sustainable routine, right? So it's like one of those things, like I love being in here because especially these people, like that person you saw, like has been coming to see me since my very first gig.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
And so like they, having him here is just like so cool, because it's like, he sees other people working hard, like automatically it's just like, not even like oh, I'm worried about like having pain with this or that. Like that person's working hard. So like, cool. It's just like permission to work hard.
Yeah. It really blends people together, and there's days whether I'm working or whether I'm lifting, and I just kind of look around and kind of, like, I don't know, daydream a little bit. And everyone is sort of doing different things. Like someone might be out there doing PT. Someone might be out there like lifting a really heavy weight. Someone might just be like warming up, doing mobility. Someone might be on the treadmill walking just because they're just trying to get healthier. But everyone gets kind of lost a little bit in a good way, because it's not like separated, to the point where it's like, oh yeah, like, okay, these people, like this is the clique, that is like lifting, and this is like, there's not really any categories necessarily. And it's really good, you know. And I think the PT people get kind of lost in the gym, meaning that they're sort of lifting and doing their PT, you know. And then whether people realize it or not, the people who are lifting weights are seeing PT being done in front of their eyes, and it affects them, whether they're planning on it or not. You know, you might have the most stubborn person in the world that's like, I don't do that shit, I don't warm up. Like, you know, like I don't do mobility work, like that's soft or whatever, you know. But you know that as soon as they have a little minor problem, you know, that they're thinking about, okay, well, like, that person might have been doing this whole thing. Maybe I'll try it at home when no one's looking. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to come in here and let us see it. But you know what I mean? So I think it's a very good thing, and it has an effect on everyone. Earlier, before we started, you know, we were just kind of going over, like, sort of, I guess, your resume in lifting. And Becca had kind of alluded to maybe there was, like, some powerlifting stuff that you were thinking about. I don't know if that's something let's talk about or not, or maybe that's just something Becca's pushing on you. I don't know.
Wow.
Just because, you know, like,
Speaking of,
as I mentioned earlier, like, I love Olympic lifting. You know, I mentioned the John North thing. I've always had like this weird sort of obsession with it. I just respect it so much.
Yeah.
And the same thing with CrossFit too. I mean, before I let you answer, you know, like, as a powerlifter and a guy running a powerlifting gym, as you would imagine, I've had a lot of people that are always like, CrossFit, you know what I mean?
I go LOL too.
But I think people, you know, like, they look at me and what I do or whatever, and they expect me to just like shit. And I actually, so it's weird. I have strong feelings about some of it, obviously. But then I also have like the side of me, it's like, I think it's really good that people are doing things.
Yes.
And the nice thing about CrossFit is it gets people together as a group. There's a community aspect that a lot of other areas for strength sport really slack in.
Yes,
horrible job.
Absolutely.
And it gets people moving, and it's a pretty easy entry.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't really, you know, like, respond the way that I think a lot of people expect me to, because I for me, that's first and foremost. But, you know, I just wanted to see, like, you know, if you had any interest in the powerlifting side of it, or if you know, because it sounds like you did a meet before, and you obviously have the strength for what we're talking about randomly, just, you know, just messing around with stuff over the years. So is there any plan on you doing any powerlifting down the road, or like, or are you kind of like in a crossroad or a fork with like the CrossFit / powerlifting stuff? Did I give you a question?
No, it's
Okay.
Well, it's December. Okay, so right now there's a lot of drama. Like, there's potentially going to be another league. So right now there's only been CrossFit. There's only been like one league, one whatever. There's another league that's coming up, and like, I'm just waiting. I'm in this like waiting situation. I'm a sitting duck. I'm just like feeling out what's going on, because the problem with CrossFit, and I think the why it's just, it was steadily growing. Like, when we had Reebok as a sponsor, it was like at its peak, and now that we lost that sponsor, I think it's just like going downhill. And
was that sponsorship lost with the like CEO deal thing, or is that what it was? Is that a separate deal?
I think that was a separate thing.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah, because it was Reebok and then Noble, and Noble's gone. It was GoRuck, and I'm pretty sure GoRuck is out.
Okay.
So, yeah, and like, I think, well, just somewhere. Basically, like, I don't know what I'm doing. But we are doing Heartbreakers meet. It's Surge.
That's sick.
It's February 8th. I kind of will like not. I will pull down my squat a bit because I want to pull over 500. Yeah, I think that's our goal for that meet. Like, I don't want to fatigue my legs too much. Then so I can deadlift better. But I'll just have fun. I want to see where that ends up.
That's cool. You're doing it with Beck too.
Yeah.
Are you doing it?
I'm just handling some places at the moment.
Okay, got it.
Coaching.
Yeah,
You look forward here too. I guess it goes both ways, huh?
Yeah.
It's one of those things, like, once you pulled that 450 sumo with like zero, like,
There was zero
practice or
resistance.
like
Yeah.
progressive loading into it leading up to it,
Yeah.
it's like, Dana,
Yeah.
imagine what you can do if you just actually like peak it.
Yeah.
So I pulled it because you laughed at me because I pulled it with a Velcro belt for one.
Yes.
It was a CrossFit Velcro belt, and it was just my rads. And like, I didn't have baby powder, I didn't have anything. I just chalked like right here, and I was like, And the only hard part for me, because I was pulling sumo, was the lockout at the top. I'm not used to that much weight, like getting pulled like that.
Yeah.
So that was the only like part that was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. So yeah, I guess that's our goal for that, just to pull over 5. And see what I can do there. But I feel like what's that Marvel thing where they like collect the stones? I feel like I'm doing that with strength though. Like I got Olympic weightlifting, I have powerlifting, strongman. Like I'm just like getting all of them now. Cause like that's what I'm good at in CrossFit, and I'm not gonna
and like you said, like you looked up like strength doesn't peak till like what age?
32 for women. So I'm like, I got 4 more years. Keep going.
What do the kids say these days?
I know.
Fuck around and find out.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like it is very CrossFitter of you to be like navigating through all these different spots, trying to get good at it. 'Cause that's kind of the point of CrossFit.
Well, more of these things are coming into our sport too, though. So, like, leading up to Rogue, I was practicing. Like, I didn't tell anybody, but I was practicing with like a log. So honing that in, that was hard. The log is for me. I was like, I had an Olympic brain hat on, and the guy was like, no. You need like, he's like, you need to take that off. You need to.
You're just trying to muscle it up.
I was trying to use Olympic technique, and that was an issue. Like once I would get the log here, and like you're into the split jerk.
Oh, I got it. Like the way you were.
Yeah,
catching
it kept slipping, and I didn't understand why. And he was like, you can't do that. You can't do Olympic lifting in strongman. And so like having to like almost like, I don't want to say like reverse engineer it, but like it just felt like a bad clean. Like so that's to me,
Yeah, because it's like they like really
they muscle
roll
it. Yeah, a lot of it.
And their extension it's in a different like timing.
Yeah.
For like the clean.
And like
know?
he was telling me, because he's like, you can't. He would show me videos, but he would show me videos of like the littles, because that technique is also different. Littles to like the really super big humans. Like he was like that. It's different for you. So like he was trying to teach me the continental clean for the log, and my Olympic ass was just like power cleaning it. And he's like, you got to put it on your belly. And I was like, what belly?
He's like, think about a belly. Imagine you having a big belly.
Yeah, and I was like, so like with the littles, you have to use, and I do have a prong belt, but like you have to catch it on your belt, then do another clean up to the shoulders, and like it kept catching the skin, like the skin here, and it was like pinching, and I was like, this is not comfortable. Yeah, so like although it is fun learning all these new sports, like it is I feel like it transfers well over to CrossFit.
I can see that.
Yeah,
it's not like you're like it's a detriment to what you do, and that's kind of the joke I was making earlier. Is like you're an actual CrossFitter, doing all this shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and you're not generally just good at it. You're actually good at it. But,
yeah.
But yeah, like so the powerlifting thing will be fun. Do you bench pretty regularly now? You know you're doing that, or have you benched like sporadically in the past? Because that was the one thing that I was wondering about. We've talked like, a little bit about deadlifts, and like obviously you're getting squatting in with CrossFit, but I know that, like from my knowledge, CrossFit
doesn't bench.
They don't bench, and if they do bench like once a year just to see where your back
and it's like flat. Everyone's flat. Yeah.
So I was just curious, like, is that something that you're implementing really kind of hard, like sort of not like last minute, but you have a short window, or is that something you've already been doing a little bit in the last? Because I know you just got ready for this invitational thing. So I'm just curious, like
how is your peak?
Yeah, I mean,
CrossFit.
It's not like a loaded question. I'm just curious, like, how you're going about that, or if you've been a little bit of it prior. I mean,
when I think I did that meet in 2021. And so I hated bench and I hated deadlift at that time because I was bad at it. I didn't stop like working on it, but I just hated it. Once I figured out I was just doing everything wrong, like I was like, oh, bench is full body, like. Oh, deadlift is not a squat. Like I was like, oh, like once you figure out technique and you're good, you start pulling, your numbers shoot up. Your strength is there, but your technique, your technique was just ass.
Yeah.
And so like my number shot up. So like or 2022, I think I won quarterfinals because like the world in one event. Because I benched like, I want to say like 240 or something. I don't know, 240. It was something stupid. Like And I didn't bench at the time. So like, I feel like now that I can like actually put aside time to like bench and deadlift, it'll probably shoot up pretty quickly.
Sure. Well, it sounds like you've overall gotten stronger, you know, in the last X amount of years anyway. So, I mean, that's also
Exactly.
fit.
But yeah, so like, I think I mean, I can say this for sure. I know how to properly bench.
Yeah.
But like, when we do it in CrossFit and it's in workouts, the weight's really low. It's just high reps. And sometimes when you're doing it for time, you don't have time to do the proper setup. You just have to slide in the bench and start going right away.
Yeah.
And I will be honest, like, I haven't seen a workout in, at least at my level, that is a weight above 135. So like, so it's like, you might need to, like, if you're doing like 21 reps at 135, you might, you know, just like arch your back a little bit more, but you don't want to spend that time getting into the proper,
it's
like,
not worth it.
Yeah.
Like, what you're going to get out of it is not worth wasting time to, I mean, I definitely wouldn't if I
right.
And in your case, that's weight you can muscle up all day long.
Right.
You could go feet up with it.
Yes. But you can tell, like, one year, I think, 2 years ago, we had a dumbbell bench workout mixed with running, and we had 60 pounds in each hand. That's not that much. I know that's not a lot, but you could tell the girls that just absolutely did not know how to, because they were like turning it this way, their chest was flat, and they were struggling. Like, meanwhile, I turned it like this, and I like
use your delts that are strong.
And I'm like, if the rep is to your chest, why not bring your chest up as high as you can while keeping your butt
the range
down?
of motion.
No one, like, there's a lot of people that didn't think about that. But I was like, of course,
like on a bench on their back.
And this is another reason why I go towards, like, when I want gymnastics training, I'll go to a gymnast or I'll go to a powerlifting gym to get because like you learn from the reason it's done that way is because it's the right way.
Yeah, it's not by chance.
Yeah,
they're not obsessively doing it that
right.
Like, we don't arch our backs during bench press to get those comments on social media all the time. Like, break your back, or like, no, just do that. It's easier. We do it because it works.
Guy, it's mom's basement. Can tell us how to do it better, or like,
but like,
or it doesn't,
whatever, And the standards, though, the crazy thing is, like, look at the standards. The standards are the same as powerlifting. Like, then they're obviously trying to tell you, like,
look how powerlifters do it and do that.
Like, the same rule is, it's just your butt just can't come off,
right?
And feet can't come off and stuff like that. So, like, I
will say I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I guess at this point it was way, way back, but I thought it was awesome that CrossFit at one point had like kind of reached out to Louise Simmons from Westside and you know, wanted to like inquire about the powerlifting movements.
I didn't know that.
And, there's some older videos on YouTube. Actually, the first time that I saw a box squat explained to me properly, when I was just on YouTube a long time ago, just like going down the rabbit hole for no reason, and I saw, I can't remember what his name was, but Louis was teaching a CrossFit guy how to box squat on a 10-inch box. For some reason, that was like what he chose that day. I don't know. I think he was just proving a point or something. I don't know. But the guy was wearing jeans and a thermal long sleeve, trying to learn how to squat on a 10-inch box. And Louis just yelling at him all the time. But that was the first time I ever saw a box squat done correctly. You know, and that really opened up a lot of doors for me. You know, and then like I think there was I think Elite FTS, I think Dave Tate, I think they also reached out to him at some point, you know, and then that just started a whole sort of plethora of different like connections, you know. So I've always, like I said before, I've always had like a weird soft spot for CrossFit, even though like a lot of people trash on it. And there's reasons to trash on it too, of course, but I don't know. I think
we could say the same thing about powerlifting, though.
And
us powerlifters bragging about never doing our cardio.
Well, and also, like, the other thing I don't know, for some reason this morning when I was training a client before we did the podcast, I was just thinking about the podcast, I guess. And one of the funny things that I wanted to bring up to you is that a lot of people, which they have good reason to, but a lot of people with CrossFit is they're always like, oh my God, the injuries, right? Which there are a shit ton of injuries. And we could like, you know, go on about the programming and all that stuff. But the funny thing is that powerlifters act like we don't get injured. And like, from you being a PT and a powerlifter yourself, and, you know, me being involved in powerlifting for as long as I have been, I mean, the injuries are pretty abundant, you know, and I would say like the programming maybe, well, is definitely done more intelligently if you have a good coach. Sure. But it's like we act like, you know, like we're not going through some similar shit. We're like, CrossFit, they need to figure it out. And it's like, oh yeah, my buddy tore his pec last week. He's benching.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because so back in my previous job, I actually started off before we opened our storefront clinic. I started off treating out of the closet of a CrossFit gym. It was before I think you started seeing me.
Yeah.
And whenever I would tell people that I was a physical therapist in a CrossFit gym, just the response, I kid you not, I'd be a freaking millionaire. The number of times people are like, wow, they must keep you really busy. Now that they find out I'm in like a normal powerlifting gym, I don't hear that anymore.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because I would argue it's like sometimes kind of the opposite.
Yeah, there's some wild shit going down.
Yeah.
I will say this though, because I technically am still a CrossFit. I still have my L2 trainer.
Yeah.
The injuries when I coached, the injuries from CrossFit were not from CrossFit. In our gym, it'd be people that would just go out and play fucking at like our gay kickball league.
Yeah.
And they come back and be like, I pulled my hamstring.
Yes.
It was stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, because we don't move laterally.
Yes.
Yeah, when they go tell their buddy next to like, I was doing this fucking WOD, my hamstring out from CrossFit.
Yeah.
I had this guy that I see in the morning sometimes, and the only time that his shoulder bothers him is that when he goes and plays kickball at his son's elementary once a year. And then we always joke around about like, he's like, man, maybe I should do some more stuff like that before I just go balls to the wall, like kickball. So but it's once a year. It's like once a year every October. He'll come in. He's like, I don't know if I can bench today, man. My kickball fucked my shoulder up. Every year. I've been training for like a decade. That's pretty awesome.
Amazing.
I'm like, don't blame that shit on bench.
Nope.
But he's aware of it. So he doesn't blame it on bench, but that's fine.
That is so
But no, I wanted to ask you too about traveling for, the strength sports that you've been a part of, because I know you said that you did your residency in Michigan, and I'm imagining you travel. Did you travel outside the States or weightlifting, or
No.
is that mostly CrossFit? 'Cause I know you've done some sort of traveling. I was just like lurking your Instagram earlier. I just saw you've been all over the place for different things. I wanted to see like where you traveled to and what it was for. And also like, I'm not like a world traveler, but me and my wife have traveled a lot in the last like 5 to 7 years. And I've lifted, or I try to lift 40 jiu-jitsu and wherever I go. Partially because I just don't fall off track with my training, but also because I just want to see what the gyms are like. I want to meet different people. Like, I just like want to make those experiences. And now I have friends at other gyms in different countries that like, it's just cool, So I want to see like what your experiences were in different countries, different places, things like that.
So for weightlifting, I never traveled out of the country. Was part of the junior Pan Am's team when I won the year one. But I ended up not going because I had nearly broken my wrist from a bad front squat bail. So everyone was going to Pan Am's, I was going home. For the strength sports, I haven't. Usually they're more local, I feel like. But for CrossFit, I've traveled like a lot. Which is one of the really cool things I think about my job is that like for at least the really big international competitions that I've been to, like it's brought me to Dubai, Shanghai, Australia, like a lot of that stuff. And yeah, like I do have I've met so many cool people at these gyms, like, cause like you have to drop in and you have to train, and then you compete.
It forces you to be social with people, in a way that you might not be if you're traveling just in travel. Yeah, and like some of these people recognize you, sometimes they might not. I was in Hawaii. I came back from Hawaii, and I don't know what it is, but like usually I get noticed sometimes. I don't know what it is with Hawaii, but it was almost a culture shock that like they're on their own island and they like have such a chill attitude. They just don't give a shit. And so like, even if they do recognize you, they're just like, meh, I'm on I'm in the most beautiful place. So like, it was just really chill. Like they're on vacation. Yeah, they're on vacation, and I think that they're also aware that we're kind of on vacation. But this is also like our job, so like they try not to talk to us until after.
But honestly, it's just really cool because like most of these people will only see us on the field or like on the side if they ask like for autographs or something like that. But it's cool to like you go to their gym and then they get to like actually interact with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, like one of the biggest things I love is meeting the people that make the community.
Yeah.
Because it is I'll make fun of it right now. It is kind of like a cult, but it's like and obviously in a good and a bad way, but the people are what I think is why CrossFit survived for so long. I don't like the management's terrible, but like people love it so much that there are things that just connect us worldwide. Like we got Murph. And I'm pretty sure Murph is starting to bleed into like everything else now too. Like,
I mean, there's people that do it here every day.
Like Murph is like a if you don't know what CrossFit is, you just say Murph. People are like, oh yeah, a mile.
Right.
Yeah. So like it has its good and bad things, and like, but one of those, I
don't think there's anything out there that is substantial. It doesn't, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not going to find it.
No.
You know, if you're around long enough, there's going to be shit that you have to go through. You know, and people aren't perfect. Not to make excuses for people, but anytime you have a lot of people involved in something, then there's going to be things that are going to pop up.
Yeah.
You know. But at the end of the day, I think it matters just like who's actually in there doing it, and the people that truly care about it. Like, sometimes that's not always synonymous with who's in charge of something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the people that do it every day and live it, like, you know, it's like it works for them, makes them happy, and, you know, that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
I mean, I always tell people, like, it's my sport. I think it's something that's just going to keep me healthy even after I'm long retired.
Yeah.
I always tell people to try it. If you don't like it, I get it. It's not for you. Just like I would try Pilates once, probably really fucking hard, but it's not my thing. And like, you know, whatever keeps you healthy, whatever keeps you moving, like just do it.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do consistently.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
For sure. Well, thanks for doing the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you being back on again. So we'll definitely reach back out and have to have you back on.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get a report on the powerlifting meet and see if that's going to be a future thing or maybe just, you know, maybe do another one in 2028 just to smash some numbers. Just be like, hey, I just CrossFit, but I'm gonna beat your PR. Fucking it.
It's gonna be fun.
All right, cool. Well, I think that's it, Shar.
Thank you.